Hi, I'm Sherry Strong in the Return to Food Kitchen with a former graduate of the Return to Food Academy, which was formerly known as the Jiivala Holistic Entrepreneurship Program. And this graduate has been doing some literally amazing things in the world. She is literally a star. And I always knew I wanted to make stars out of people, and she's definitely someone who totally embraced the program and literally has flown with it. You may know her from the blog, Chloe's Countertop, and if you've checked out the blog, you know that she's an amazing writer, amazing blogger, food photographer, and her level of transparency and vulnerability in the way she writes and what she shares inspires the hell out of me. So I just wanted to welcome her. She's actually flown in from Dubai here into Vancouver for a visit, and I thought while she was here visiting, I would take the opportunity to share a bit of her story.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming into the Return to Food Kitchen.
So happy to be here. It's so good to be back with you in this space and to see everyone. It's just beautiful. I love being here, always.
Awesome. So tell me, what were you doing before Jiivala, or Return to Food?
Yeah, so I just finished school as a holistic nutritionist, and as like many people that are finishing holistic nutrition, I was experiencing a lot of confusion, what to do, what was my purpose, what did I actually enjoy. And so it was kind of perfect when I met Sherry, and we just clicked, connected. She was able to really bring out a lot of things that I was hiding from and just not sure of. And yeah, so she mentioned Jiivala to me, and we talked a little bit about it. And just like with me going to holistic nutrition school, it barely took me 5 minutes to decide to do it. And this is kind of the way that I've always lived my life. It was very similar to the way I moved to Dubai. It was something that I didn't think too much about. I just went with.
Great. And since you have finished the program, tell me what you've been doing, because you've been doing quite an amazing array of things.
Well, I think that one thing after Jiivala, I became really clear on a couple things that I was really passionate about. And one thing was that working with you really brought me closer to food. I grew up with a history of eating disorders, so I had a pretty disruptive relationship with food and my body image and self-love. Working with you with food was really the first time that I was able to just approach food through love. You gave us such amazing recipes. You made it really simple. And I finished Jiivala and was just literally cooking in my kitchen nonstop, started taking a lot of photos of food, and it kind of naturally evolved into holistic catering. I just was randomly approached by a couple people, including a Hollywood movie director, to do catering for them. And it just kind of fell into that, and I really enjoyed it. So I was doing that, and I was writing, and just started to do what I was enjoying. I didn't really think too much about it. I wasn't trying to package it in a way that was marketable or anything. It was more just like doing what I loved and enjoying the moment. So then when the idea was to move to Dubai, randomly I decided to go with it again. And since then, my Chloe's Countertop has kind of evolved into a platform of me. It's a representation of who I am, and that's kind of the way that I've always wanted to do my business and live my life, is to just kind of be true to who I am. And that's how I've found people respond to me because they are able to kind of see the passion in what I do, and that's kind of the way that I run my business. So I work with companies that I see the integrity in and see similar values and visions in. I'm still working with food. I love writing. The other thing that was really interesting with Jiivala, I had a massive fear of speaking. Public speaking was like not something I would never do. In university courses, I would literally drop the class if I found out that there was a speaking component. And on our last day, much like what you guys are doing today, I think I didn't sleep for 3 nights, and unfortunately I was the last speaker, so my anxiety was incredibly high. But what was funny was that although I was really judgmental and critical of myself, people responded really strongly to me speaking. And I think for me that was what was kind of started me on the path of speaking. And since then, now in Dubai, I do quite a bit of speaking gigs and in the medical community, and that's somewhere that I'm really trying to develop in my business.
international conferences, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you have, when you look at the pictures that you take, when I want a little pick-me-up, I'll actually go onto Facebook and check out Chloe's Instagram photos and just your food photography and what you're actually preparing. I'm like, you know, it's one of those wonderful experiences as a teacher where your students exceed you, you know, dramatically. And because it's so authentic, it's coming from just your own self-expression, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
And so I look at your photographs for no other reason than they're so beautiful, they make me smile.
Oh.
So tell us a little bit about, you know, your style and how you set things up and make those things happen.
Well, I mean, it is still very much, like I said before, it's really natural. The way I kind of fell into food photography, I just, you know, was cooking a lot of the food that we made together and kind of going back to food that I used to love but removed from my life while I had eating disorders. Yeah, just really kind of feeding into natural elements of food, highlighting, you know, textures and colors, really keeping things very simple always. When I started doing food and photos in Vancouver, even when I look back now, I see that there's been massive growth. You know, obviously having a nice camera also does affect that. But you just kind of figure out what it is that works for you, and your eye, you know, the way that you look at things and appreciate things does change. As I've built Chloe's countertop, I have to sometimes make sure that things are coherent, you know, making sure that colors work together, that the images aren't too different from each other. The way you edit it is similar, but when it comes to planning things and stuff, I actually really just like to go with what feels right. I'll cook something without an idea of what I'm going to say or what I'm going to write about it, and then literally as I post it, it just comes through me. And that's how I know that it's something, I'm living my passion, because it's something that just comes through me. And it's like when I'm writing, as soon as I start to write, it's not something I think about. I just do it, and it's almost like I'm channeling my intuition through whatever it is I'm doing. And I think that that's why people respond to it, whatever they're feeling inside as well.
Yeah, and I have to say that when I first saw your blog, I remember thinking, wow, like we practice, you know, transparency exercise and vulnerability exercises and things like that. It's one thing to do it in a room, you know, of your colleagues, but to do it for the world takes a lot of courage. Yeah, and it's interesting because I've met people who just randomly I've met, and I've mentioned your blog, and they're like, oh my God, she's such a good writer. I love her writing. I love her blog. Yeah. So that's been another kind of like, ooh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really special. It touches me every time, because that's the thing. I don't ever write thinking about who's reading it or what they're gonna think. It's purely for me. And I think that that's something that I've learned, and the people that I've spoken to who do inspire me a lot are the people that also do that. When you're doing your life's work, or you're doing something you're passionate about, you're doing it for you. It doesn't matter what other people think then. That's when you're really creating, you know, something that you love, and that's when people receive it more, because they do respond to that energy, the love that, you know, you're bringing out of it. And I think that that's really important. We get really stuck in our heads trying to figure out what people are going to think, you know, what's going to be successful, what will be, you know, do well in the community. But I think for me, especially with the photos, a photo that I think too much about and think too much about what I'm writing never does as well as one where I literally just post it, write something, don't really edit it too much. Those are the ones that really, you know, get the most likes or people like the most. So
yeah, I think one of the biggest things that's difficult for people starting out particularly is truly being themselves. Like, can you give any tips to people who are on that path to just allow all of them to actually come through in what they do?
Yeah. I mean, it is difficult, because part of it is really about getting outside of your head. So for me, it's, you know, having grounding practices, you know, whatever that means to you, everyone's different. I also have slowly built a circle of mentors that I go to, whether it's, you know, a medical intuitive or someone like Sherry, who, when I feel like I'm kind of circling or a bit lost, which is normal, everyone, even if you have a really successful business, you still go through that, you get stuck in your head. You can kind of pull yourself back, connect with them, and they can kind of remind you of whatever, who you are, what your truth is. And sometimes it's just as simple as that. Sometimes you just need to go out in nature. For me, it's writing or cooking. There's no right way to do it. Everyone really should have their own practice, because it's based on what makes you feel alive, what makes you feel good. It's like what Danielle Laporte says, building your vision based on how you want to feel, not what you want to do. For me, that's the key, is I'm always focused on how I want to feel. I'm a very emotional, sensitive person. I cry all the time, and that's okay, because for me, I know when I'm feeling that's when I'm in my element. So it's connecting with that and understanding, what will help for you to understand when it is that you're doing something that you love.
Awesome. And what's kind of on the horizon for you? What feels right now for you, work-wise and future-wise?
Yeah, it's a pretty great question. It's coming back to Vancouver has been really amazing for me. I have a website development team here, so I've been building a new website for quite a while now, and I've been in a bit of a stage where things are really starting to change. I just got engaged, and my fiance and I are moving to New York. So I'm going to be starting to, because right now I'm working for a company doing cold pressed juice and raw food. So I do a lot of different things for the business development side. So I will continue doing that, just to kind of satisfy the mind. But my heart work is to be reading and writing, to write and speak. So those are two major elements of Chloe's Countertop that I'm going to be really working on. And then the other one is that I'm going to be holding basically VIP days. So for people to come and work with me, spend the day with me, cook, do workshops, figure out, and just kind of do this sort of work where I can help them to connect with their truth, understand what it is that they're passionate about, ground them, kind of see what it is like to live in the day of someone who's living their truth and loving what they do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And part of the, the kind of the romantic part of things, you got to share with people how Ferris proposed to you. Because there's one of those pictures that you posted on Facebook that I think is literally one of the most beautiful photographs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then when I show people how he proposed to you, they're just like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like movies always make proposals look so perfect, and I think the photo probably does that as well. It definitely wasn't perfect. There's quite a long story to it, but I guess the short story is, so Ferris planned this for 5 months, and he had to rely on the guy who was our hotel manager to kind of plan it all. Which was difficult for him because he is a major project manager, stress case, anxiety. So literally 5 days before we left on the trip, he started having breathing problems. I was like, what's going on? Why? You're working out too much. But yeah, so we went to Cappadocia in Turkey, which is known for hot air ballooning. It's a really beautiful place. There's valleys, it's all natural. It was a very important part of the Silk Route back in the day, so there's lots of horses. And so every morning you go out on a hot air balloon, and it's just the most spectacular place. It's completely surreal. You're not in the real world. It's some other universe. And so on the second day, we had breakfast. He set up to have a table set for two at the edge of Love Valley, is what it's called. It was just 5 o'clock sunrise, and he proposed. As we were having breakfast, of course, I was quite uncomfortable because there were 5 Turkish guys watching this entire thing. And there was a moment when we were sitting there having breakfast, and I was pretending to not think that I was about to get engaged. And I looked to my right, and a photographer was like ducking because he didn't want me to see. I was like, oh no, this is happening. But yeah, it was beautiful. Ferris did grab my right hand and try to put the ring on my middle finger. So that was, I had to kind of direct him, and he wanted to say a lot, but all he got out was "marry me," plus a lot of shakes and tears. But yeah, overall, I was so grateful, and it was beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you've like many people, you've gone through your dark times, the dark night of the soul. I know that. I know that about you, and anyone who's read Chloe's Countertop blog knows that she's very openly shares with it. So the girl who's been through the dark night, and the girl who's really, really facing life head on and really embracing her passions and living holistically, passionately, and clearly, and I think a lot of love and responsibility goes into how you live. What advice would you give people who are actually in that space where they have the uncertainty and it just, they know they want to do brilliant, great things in the world, but they're just uncertain about the next steps?
I'd say it's such a tendency of ours to attach ourselves to whatever it is we're going through. So when we're going through a great time and life is going good, we tend to attach our identity to it and want to hold on to it and make sure that it stays forever and control it and attach so much meaning to it. And it's kind of the same, it's the reverse when things don't go so great. Something for me, and this has kind of been a practice that I really try to continue to do, is allowing the bad times to come and just not get too attached to it. Don't think too much about it and just literally just be and live in whatever is going on. When we experience emotions, we get so much in our head trying to understand why it's happening, how we can get rid of it. And I think for a long time I did avoid pain and resisted a lot of pain, and that's what caused more pain. But I now almost look at pain as a gift. So when I go through times that are difficult, or when I look back on any of the times that I've had, gone through depression or all of my eating disorders, I really look at it as a gift. I'm so grateful for everything that I went through. I know that it brought me to where I am. I know that I wouldn't have met Ferris if I didn't go through it. Everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that the universe will protect you and does. You kind of just lose your way when you get too attached to trying to understand and, make yourself believe that you have some sort of control, because at the end of the day, you don't, and the universe really has a plan for you, and it's just about allowing that to happen. As soon as I was able to change that in my mind, it was just like immediate. I embraced it, and now I'm so excited and I see so much opportunity, and I think that's when I really started to, play around with how else I can, develop Chloe's Countertop and what it will look like there, and it's perfect. So.
Awesome, great. Well, I would like to thank you so much for coming into my life. I know as a teacher it's been a joy to actually teach you and see your evolution in the world. Where is the best place for people to connect with you and check out what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram. That's kind of my favorite platform. So, want to feel inspired or kind of find yourself through what I do, or just want to travel, then you can definitely find a lot of inspiration and that kind of thing there. My website will be done in the beginning of August, so definitely stay tuned to check out chloescountertop.com. It'll be a whole bunch of conversations with Chloe, so I'll be featuring lots of businesses that are like me or that inspire me, people around the world like the Balanced Blonde, who I've connected with and just love to chat with and learn more about what they're doing, and how they've gone through their dark times and also approached it as a gift. And photos, of course, that kind of thing. And if you want to book me for speaking at an engagement, I'd love to do that as well. And if you need to shoot me an email, all my contact information is there as well.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's
Thank
been
you.
an absolute delight talking to you and seeing you again.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Love you lots.